session to interview candidates until approximately 3 p.m.
3 p.m. I would make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3-0. First of all, minutes for Tuesday, September 9th.
I didn't even get to read them. I didn't see it.
They weren't there?
Well, I mean, I didn't see no corrections.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't see any corrections either.
I'll make a motion for that.
For Tuesday, September 9th.
Yeah.
Motion to a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We've already done that. Who's that small? Well, we got Donna here, we got her son to jump at 3:15. So, I guess you're up, Donna.
Okay. Did you get something in your packet that I had been talking about as I was there?
I get an email that's not.
Oh, okay. So you had a chance to review that. I received a bill from Shawnee County, and I won't name the party's name other than, you had the information there, but it'd be as far as the lady's name. And I believe at one time she was a resident of Atchison County. She now lives in Topeka, and I live in State, which is a nursing home. And they filed a guardian and conservatorship case for her in Shawnee County, and they have sent us the bill for the attorney fees in the case. And if you'll look, I think I first gave you the order appointing guardian conservatorship as part of the packet, and on page 3 at the bottom, when the judge signed the order, it states that the attorney's fees of $300 shall be assessed and cut, and they scratched out Shawnee and put Atchison County. Now, what I also gave you is a copy of the statute, because we had to do some research on this. I've never encountered this before. And the statute there is 59-3094.
What was it, 39?
KSA 59-3094,
Okay.
and it's subsection C. So at the top, and it says, any district court receiving a statement of cost from another district court shall approve the same for payment as the general fund of this county, except that it may refuse to approve the same for payment only on the grounds that the proposed board or proposed conservator award is not a resident of that county. And in such case, it shall transmit the statement of cost to the Secretary of Social and Rehabilitation Services, who shall determine the question of residence, and then certify the file of each district court. So I've not submitted this bill yet for payment. I wanted to bring it to you. I think it's up to you to determine whether you want to pay this bill or whether you want to challenge it, and that would be up, obviously, to your county council.
She's not a resident, so is she? Or was the case?
She was a resident at one time here in Atchison County, and I have that information to show it around as well. How long she has lived in all the state and people, I do not know for sure.
I thought that was it, when you look back, that the house they sold was the house in Shawnee County, not Atchison County.
Now, I have an address at one time she lived on Harper Drive here in Atchison County. So I didn't want to submit this for payment without this being to you first, because I think you need to determine whether you want to pay this bill or you want to contest it.
I'll pass it on here. How long we have to answer this, so.
Yeah.
30 days, you read on down. If costs are not paid, then 30 days. An action may be maintained by the Plains County against the Denver County. The bill was dated September 5th. I got the envelope here. I didn't necessarily get it September 5th, but the bill was dated September 5th.
person residence, though, I mean, it almost looks like it's resident of Shawnee County.
I don't know if you checked it or not. I can tell you the names of the 2014 city records, but of course that may have been compiled in 2014.
So how do they know she's not necessarily a resident of Shawnee County? They just,
And they did a, here.
If I look at here a little bit, look through it, I'm gonna say she left here, she went to her son and daughter-in-law. And her residence is maintained that. I don't think she's supposed to work. She had a son-in-law and daughter, son-in-law, speaker. And I
Yeah,
believe
she
she
was
left here,
studying
that's where
again,
she.
and then she's now in Oliver's Gate. I can show you this part of the report here, and this is where I kind of have to, over there from that probably is the address. This is not. Another year, at what time frame, she was here, and then she retired, I don't know.
and is that an actual residence that she owned? Or is it just, cause I would think, I mean, how do you claim residence? Just, do you
I don't know.
physically own property, or,
Well, if you was a voter record, you'd have to.
I'll take a question right there too.
I thought Mrs. Parker.
Now, see, it shows here, and I gave you a copy of the inventory
Yeah,
evaluation. It shows here as far as real estate that was sold, Friday the 13th.
In Shawnee County.
Well, that I don't know, but the real estate, whether that's the real estate here in Atchison County.
Would, homesteaders have any insight on that? Where you go? Or, mystery deeds, or?
It's always the same thing, so you want to have it. But I just have to look, like I said, I didn't want to make the payment without you reviewing it, to see whether you want it fair or you want it consent.
I think the residency is in question, that's what I'm sure.
The residency, yeah.
Can you just repeat those four?
I think that,
Oh,
I would suggest you probably do it. Like I said, I had some additional paperwork that I didn't make you.
Let's do nine.
030.
huh?
Just out, 6030.
we dropped off the cost of patch and
Was it rain?
Yeah, send it to Tony.
Oh, this whole
Well, I believe I made a copy for Mr. Henderson.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have that.
He should. I left it with Paul.
No records go for that?
My guesstimate, I'm gonna say that she sold the property here in Atchison in 13.
This shows sold on 11/5/13 at 10,500. But I don't know where,
But it was a short address.
yeah,
Right,
there's-
it just showed property was sold.
And this comes from Shawnee County, maybe.
Right,
That's
because
why, that's why
this
it wasn't
case,
there.
this case was filed with Shawnee County.
That's why there's no address there. I'd say we don't, if I was guesstimating, I'd say we don't.
Now, then we will have to submit,
Well, I would rather have, I
or
would have.
Mr. Henderson, but yeah, you'll have to follow the statute for it.
Because why didn't they list some of the
Chicken, actually, it's in the district in Monroe County.
Well, the address that was listed,
That's what I talked to,
in this case,
Tennessee Speed Officer.
Okay. Okay. Is there any other one she needs to? Okay, go back to that one, and then do a transfer. I forgot to take the preview on. Can you bring it up?
Yeah, I don't know what, I don't guess, yeah, you work
No,
out.
on
We
the
had a
bottom.
meeting once.
On the bottom.
She called.
I think it's,
You know where it says
I did,
shoulder,
yeah.
thing, there's something that says,
She's mad. She's mad because there was a window that we scraped all the gravel off the road. And she's mad.
Okay.
She's gonna drop on her, she's gonna find out.
okay, that's fine, we'll be later. Okay, bye, bye. That's the only one, sequestered in Lower County, and she's in Acton. The lady, I haven't looked them up on voter registration. It shows inactive. She didn't, I didn't ask her what date she registered. She couldn't get it printed, but, it's the same birthday. But the registration, the county is Leavenworth County.
and their product, you know, the address I showed you is probably the same place in the house.
So, I mean,
I wonder if it's just like somebody that she do and use that resume.
I guess my question is, that she was figuring out whether it was a access to that.
They're in a bigger area, if they're trying to get that.
What was, was Harvard, what was it, was it 200? 1900?
I don't know how long.
This is our part, it's good teacher, usually
We usually do it right
sure. Right around the corner. Always right in that Christmas lights.
If they really want to dig it, they'll do it.
It looks like the most information should be on the address, it shows the date, it's like the
She wanted to know what.
She was in the
and the booking.
I was talking to Trent. And he, when I said it, he just went off.
Decided on Donna yet?
Yeah.
I think it was like that.
You're referring it to Catherine?
That address is, it's a pretty decent sized tract, isn't it?
It's Hartford Drive, 1900 Hartford.
It's not even the name that's listed.
You get that person
Just
who's mad
pull it up.
in 10th grade, some person other than your mom, want to get pregnant. You know, that's what we tell people all the time.
Racist stuff.
his opinion. And the seats on those chairs, they're like made out of 3 or 4 different sections of wood that have been glued together. So when he looked at those, he said, yes, I can glue those back together, but he also suggested putting a cleat underneath of them, which would be like a bar, because he said that would make them sturdier. And so I mentioned that to the judges, and they suggested I would come visit with you. Do you feel that would be value that, you know, you want to see if you value the chairs?
Are we worried about that? We're not
Well-
trying to review.
We're not
And
worried.
that's why they just said to come visit with you and see what your opinion was, so.
I thought the intent was to make it usable, not to
I agree.
antique it.
So,
The value will go down, but, something anyways.
so you
How
guys-
did he come up price-wise compared to?
Cheaper.
He's very good, him or Bruce Logan, both are good.
I just called him first, I didn't know which one to call, so I called him first, and he said I would, and he's willing to work on them, but judges suggested I just come visit with you first before I have to proceed.
It would probably be value less if he could use a strip of wood, whether it be oak or something versus a piece of metal.
Okay.
A piece of metal would really take the value down. A strip of wood maybe.
So should I suggest it's with him, or just let him decide what he wants to do?
If we're worried about value, I'd say yes, but I'm not worried about the value. I'm not really worried about the value of the
All right, well, that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That wasn't real painful.
Probably for time purposes, why don't one of us contact Pat to look at this pronto and to let you know his opinion, and if it's yes, pay it, if it's no,
Right.
that's
And then
speed
if
things
you
up,
wanna
because we're not gonna
challenge
meet
it,
till
that's
next
up.
Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Or next Tuesday, excuse me, so, you know, we're roughly a week before we're gonna see him again.
I think that's maybe a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Don.
I got 2 kids, I don't know.
Okay. I know he's smiling at that. Because that's good.
First PO is for air compressor for, oil distributor truck, it's, $595.72, which there is a $133 core charge on there that we will get back. And then we had to put a new core in the radiator for our chip spreader as the fan went through. And the total on that is $1,205.45. And it is going, and we're gonna shoot oil tomorrow, well, it's not right now.
You got no chickens in?
We still got a little ways to go, if we would have real good weather for the next 2 weeks, we could pretty much knock it out.
What do you got?
The weather's really,
Has that been, have you already spent that money, is that out of your budget yet, or do you know?
what's that?
All the chip and seal stuff?
Have we spent it? No.
You know what I mean, is it paid for, I mean, if what's reflected in your budget?
No, it is not paid for, it's not been paid for yet, so that's still to come out of there.
Because our big budget was awful good, we're gonna need every bit we can get.
Right, yeah. So, we've still got, probably just a little over $200,000 chip seal.
But that come out of there,
Yeah.
well, you had all those days in there, so you,
Yeah.
it didn't really need, all come against it.
Okay. Good. So, yeah, all we need now is some good weather.
If we went back to 5/8 yet, or?
No, I'll probably shoot for around the 1st of October. It'll be getting, this be dark in the mornings. I'm trying to get done with this chip seal and, switch.
Can you get a good seal when it's dewy, foggy, and misty, and rainy?
Well, usually the hotter the better, but, as long as it's in the 70s, we're okay. So, during the day. So, we're still okay. We seal up until, October 31st before. So, it's not the ideal conditions, but we have done it, but hopefully we're not
Well, you
doing
know,
that.
in Kansas, you never know, I mean, you want it to be a little warm if you can, as far as that goes.
Like I said, I'm hoping, we have a couple weeks, if we have a couple weeks of good weather, we'll get it knocked out and we'll be done with it.
But didn't Donna say she was contacting Pat?
To get the papers flowing.
Thanks, man.
What?
Did Donna give you this paper here to give to Pat, and did you give this to Pat?
Yeah, I emailed all of you and Pat a copy of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember going through, I got it.
But you want me to say something back up? You want me to do the answer?
Something needs to get to Pat, and let him know to Donna, his opinion, pay it or not pay it. And I guess we trust his judgment.
So do you want me to, you want me to pull off the copy of this voter registration thing too? That you can show
I
that?
don't know what I want to do.
I'm not sure what all you need, 'cause I mean,
I can talk all in like that.
Are you okay?
Yep.
Did Tony already talk to you about the, general fund?
yes. Yeah, we got some funds, I think they're supposed to be being deposited in
I
this
mean,
week.
I think the fire department's supposed to be there.
Clean that out, you need that, right?
I didn't take you long to eat it.
And we'll clean the dish.
Wow, okay, thank you.
No, I don't do that, but I don't think that's too much difference.
That's what I thought too.
And you take that, you have to take that out, then you get this, it's doing good.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I think we discussed about paying for that. I think it's like maybe $4,000 difference, or is it?
Maybe 4.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I don't know if you received that letter or not. Should probably have, maybe call me, scan, email it. Okay.
Well, okay, because I have a copy of the letter that he sent. Just scan that and send it to Pat. That's just their response, it's pretty close to what we told you it was gonna make.
Okay.
And so because he should have a copy of the letter that you sent, because they didn't, apparently they didn't attach a copy of the letter that you sent them, in case 2 months ago. So, Pat didn't get a copy of the letter.
Yeah, you're supposed to take county vehicle if possible.
Okay.
Motion to ask.
Like this bill right here, Shelley, girl was first to call it Wichita. I wonder if she inquired to see if the county car was available that day. $217.
Almost as a needle, that she is using.
I have a problem with this one.
Yeah. So,
That's why, that's going there, makes that look like that's, but.
It's hard to see how that went down there. And it was for a 3-day.
Shelley came back Friday morning,
Two of
she
them,
said,
almost aren't really.
well, you got that.
We would have a shortfall of one end.
the other stuff.
Jack didn't mention that when we got the car, we kind of put it in his hands, and he said the only request that he's ever received for that car is from the commissioner.
Who else has, yeah, I know the appraisers have keys, but, who else has keys?
That's it.
There's only 2 sets of keys.
Doesn't the appraisers use it for the?
The appraisers use it for, yeah, depot.
Mhm.
I gotta borrow one for October 1st.
Well, that's what the vehicle's there for.
If anybody calls, the car's not available, then I'm fine. But when they don't call, to see if the car's available, they use their own personal call, I have a problem. And that's what we bought that car for, was dual purpose, the county business.
I think it even states in like the policy manual to use county vehicles first if possible.
You,
If it's their need.
That's mileage for her personal car.
Right, but why shouldn't it come out of?
Well, she's in the general.
Oh, okay, it comes out of her.
But Bill's saying, like, why didn't she use like, the county, a county vehicle?
So we need to do a memo. Department again.
Maybe the car was gone that day, I don't know.
I just have a question on this hazardous building.
Yeah.
Do we need to include it into our insurance? Is it a very big building or is it a building that has to be,
It's not very big, the hazardous waste, it's a,
it doesn't
it's
have to
not
be.
that big, it's, what is it, 24, I mean, it's.
I mean, do we have to have
There's some
insurance?
transfers, like money.
Very small.
Do we need insurance on it or anything?
it's a car.
Pauline just was, but she
So
was,
it's worth
those transfers and the motor vehicle tax.
The 2 transfers you made last week, we'll have her do it
And they
tomorrow.
haven't done anything with sales tax.
Yeah, and then you said something about the motor vehicle tax.
Well, I'm another thing, yeah, motor vehicle will be put in, Mark said either today or tomorrow.
So
Okay.
should I wait till tomorrow to do it? Process and transfer everything over?
It's just gonna show in the whole for a little while.
It'll just show in the balance until she doesn't change it.
Okay,
No big
okay.
deal.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just curious if it was down our county insurance. He's got the car for
It's
it.
a car for an agreement with regards to our property costs to less than 10,000 to build.
Okay. That answers my question. I'm good.
Hopefully it costs you less than 10,000.
But it needs to be on inventory.
I built a two-car garage, so to speak, that goes on Cardinal, with the sides and the roof straight and the concrete floor, and I got like $6,500. It's like a two-car garage, it's not a real big two-car garage. I usually put my diesel fuel tanks in it, is what I use.
And it's priced one from Gilbert, 20 by 30, 46 by, not included in it.
Well, see, you seen that was yeah, they're not very expensive. They're not bad for what you get. They're not bad.
Good. Good for me.
Sure.
The only thing I have is,
See that?
That drops it, okay.
one thing I have is, Bill told me when I was on, Mike told me when I was on, about, needing to have something in writing about what we did with Kyle with his paid in the last week, and the week of severance pay that you guys promised him, so we didn't do anything for that.
We recorded the minutes last week. Does that make the payroll change, or do we need anything satisfy that.
No, it was recorded in the minutes, so.
Okay, so we're gonna, now we give you the numbers for,
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can do anything, I wanna do it, I mean, I just hate going into that budget and knowing that you've got some errors. I mean, I realize it put us off a week,
Next year,
by republishing, but,
we might have to make it work this year, but next year.
what are you talking next year? This year I think you'll be all right, because we got enough built in. I mean, the other departments were here under general and
Correct,
stuff. I
correct,
mean,
yeah.
there's enough savings there, and that, the others, I'm pretty sure that it, just what few numbers I was running, but next year, we downsized just a little bit, because the figures they supposedly were using was 2013, figures as far as that goes. And, here again, we didn't have anybody monitoring that, so I mean, relative to a little bit of shock and talk, I think would be pretty good, because most of them are at least 45%, benefits are at least 45%, if not a little bit more. Which should be okay. It's a very tight budget, but we'll have to discuss that when we reach an agreement how we want to do it. I just hate flying into something, knowing, I just accidentally run off to that. I mean, just, because I would try to figure, are we good on our estimates? And I said, why is that when you got $70,000 in salary that you're only paying 25 or 28 for benefits? Now, and I realized there was some split things, but I thought that you guys split it out, I mean, accordingly anyway, so.
We just put it out, but, the 22 that we work for that.
No, but I knew on the EM side that just basically, Connie's half salary and your partial salary was, you got the full, I call it the full benefit package, whereas your responders, they won't get no health insurance and stuff like that, so that shouldn't be too much, so. Actually, my estimates were pretty close, I mean, I plugged in, I think, 19,000, and you had 20, you said 12.8.
So on top of that.
On top of what's there now, 12, 1, and 8, yeah, no. Okay.
That's all I have.
Yeah, well, over here, I mean, we just, I discussed with you a little bit, depending on, we don't know what Jack's deal is, I mean, this budget also shows that Jack was figuring out, we thought he'd give us the estimate of 160,000, well, that's, because he included in his budget request. Well, that's what he was figuring out, doing this year, and he'll be fairly close, I think it's tapered off and stuff, because as of June, he had 100,000, and I don't know how fast it tapered off, but he could have 120 or so. Huh?
That's still pulling.
Well, he'll get some more later, I'm sure he'll get some more later as far as that goes, but we don't know how to budget for next year, I mean, if that thing tapers off, but
Current had 2,000.
well, he just told me he wanted that, I just told him, so.
But it fluctuates all the
Yeah.
time, I mean, that's,
It's a cycle.
it would be hard to figure out if it's a guess.
But that's why Pauline, she did it in 12 before I came, I wonder how you figure that, because sometimes when that summary is done, I mean, when I went back and looked at the audits, there's some kind of line item for the sheriff housing. I think it's all thrown into miscellaneous, or into fees, and licenses and stuff like that, because we've been pretty consistently collected well over $350,000, but the years it looks like Jack had, not necessarily Jack, even maybe when John was here, there was, 500 some thousand, well, that adds up to some $1,000 probably in your house.
That changes.
But then you go back another year and it's 380,000, well, and you budgeted for 350, so there was either, what was that extra 30,000?
That would be a hard one, but we just don't know what you're gonna have.
Well, the lesson that Melanie explained to me when I sat down on that place, she said that if you're gonna be conservative, you be conservative on the projected income, even if it costs you a little bit on that mill levy, because you know that, outside your delinquency and stuff, but you budget for delinquency. And I tell you, the other thing I learned is that rebate costs us 10%. More in taxes, it's almost 10% more in taxes that you have to levy that much 10% more, or.
You gotta look at the money to give it back to you.
Right, now, you did a little bit different, you took the,
I lowered the value.
you lowered the value.
It's the same way,
It's the same thing,
Let's think about this.
right. But,
but you gotta be sure you have the money in order to give it back. If you don't, then,
no, you have to give it back.
but I mean, you know, that's one budget year. If you don't have the money,
Can you tell me what budget you have for? You know, we actually when we went back and looked, they come out a lot better on that, because when everything was consolidated, there was enough savings to even make up for that shortfall. But the big problem was the highway money that Chris used and didn't tell us, and that put us, it only says you never will start with $100,000. And we didn't, I mean, we come out in the plus, and the audit come out in the plus. So we'll have to that money is transferable back. I mean, we just have to do it, that's all there is to it. We're learning by doing.
you can always transfer back. You've got the budget. If you don't have the cash, you can always transfer it back. You don't have to amend it, you can just transfer it back.
You can transfer it back, and we can't transfer it back into general after it's been transferred out in 13 according to knowledge.
You can.
Sure you can.
Oh, yeah, you can.
You just can't overspend what you budgeted yourself.
Yeah.
Cash doesn't matter,
Yeah.
as long as you don't overspend what you budgeted.
So you
You
go.
gotta have the cash and you gotta have the budget. You
Yep.
don't have,
Yes.
if you don't have the cash,
You can't do it.
you might as well just send everybody home because you can't spend the budget.
Yeah.
But you can always transfer it back.
Yeah, you should at least be
But,
able to transfer.
I mean,
back.
maybe they changed the rules.
I don't think she told us that, at least
Yeah,
one.
I may have misunderstood her and stuff, but, well, I thought she talked like that, when we amend the budget, we would transfer that, but.
Well, she said you can transfer, you just have to amend it by end of the year.
Okay.
To include it back.
Correct.
Mhm.
To show the transaction occurred.
Do we need to go down there and talk, I mean, and make sure that Sheila is getting, or whoever is depositing that money, because that motor vehicle stuff, if it's 2013, it's not delinquent, I mean, I guess what I understood Melanie is those accounts that we still left open after we consolidated
Yeah.
is only collecting delinquent taxes. Well, there's a little bit of delinquent tax, but she's putting some of the 2013 motor vehicle tax.
Well, but see, motor vehicle is 2 years behind.
Yeah.
They're 2 years behind.
So we're still, but we're
Yeah, but
using a
they're-
2-year, we're using a 2-year mill levy. So
I
this
think she
year we're
said
using
something,
2013.
she said something about the motor vehicle tax is also gonna carry over some of that.
Yeah,
Melanie told
you're
me.
gonna have a couple
Yeah,
years and
but-
then it'll just go away. The motor vehicle.
Well, okay, but you see this sheet here, the allocation of motor vehicle recreational, these are the figures.
I got 2013. I guess I don't have a 14. I have a 13.
I got 12 and 13 budget there, but you see, this is the allocation for 15, okay?
So why can't we make a journal entry and just move it as a critical error and move it over? Well, I mean, it is a critical error because it's like, he put it in the general. He's showing it as a general.
Well, this is the figure that we used, this is the 15 budget.
Oh, 15.
Yeah. I don't
Well,
See, I don't know whether I got a, does the 14 have a work page or?
Okay.
As long as you mark down that you see how you have to that, you can't just go off that.
Okay, here's what Rich used.
Because then we'll figure
So
out.
this is what he entered into general.
and so he added road bridge and law enforcement and election. So I don't know why.
We need to
I don't
change that,
know
try to
why- I
remember
don't know
that.
why they can't do a clerical error to journal entry. He's the general justice.
Well, but that was a group chat
This is,
too, I mean,
if there is any money comes in here, we
came in better price.
Yeah.
it's,
That would help too, that was,
we got a separate,
Well, ambulance, he's the best.
50,000 for a siren or 35.
Yeah, ambulance, we need those, yeah, I don't know. That's-
You know, of course, the employee benefits.
And then they're putting them up on the same pole that they're already on that. Typically use that.
Well, employee benefits, I mean, employee benefits is a,
Right.
is just its own account, I mean, that's, there shouldn't have been any tax levied for them.
If there's, I bet, okay, maybe I can get one,
I wouldn't be, well, they don't want to be hard about that. It wouldn't be a big deal, but then the other part, that's just a little bad.
That's really, it's really extra, isn't it?
You have to find out how much
You
of
don't have
it.
major cash.
okay, it's fine, that's it.
That's what it is. Everything else can go.
Just 20,000, correct?
Mike, Wes has to go to another meeting, you have anything else you want to ask him? Open our second session.
Okay.
Good to know, yes.
Oh, we got some little cords now, 'cause I got,
Just
put
go
them in a
over-
box, huh?
Just go along with your blackboard, so I did.
I got $6 more.
Yeah, I told everybody, I was like, these, how much more cords do you want, lower cords?
I ordered them for my office and one
Yeah.
price was,
I don't use mine, I have a headset.
one price was,
Yeah. Probably about, well, worth, so,
6 1/4 was 22.
yeah.
But, so we have some small ones, but some of the different,
Right, breaks one of these on.
yeah. We'll give it to you.
That works.
You all have a great day.
Thank you, Wes.
Call me if you need anything.
Or you can fund some in your
We plan
budget
on
at the end of the
doing
year and
something.
next year, we'll be sure to.
Nathan, you want-
But the whole thing of it is I guess I was assuming that this was over, the vehicle tax.
I thought maybe it could point.
So you only just asked her if we could just do a journal entry and just get us a clarifier? Because it's already been budgeted.
The thing is, we need to find out.
Thank you, I told them all, thank you.
This is what's going to be our general nerves in, is that
Have a good one.
if she is doing that, there's a false premise that this way out here. There's a false premise out here, the way I see it. I mean, let's go ahead and write that in, okay.
No, that's what this,
Yeah, but that, that all this money,
well. Cause there's 8,000 in.
Wesley.
He just left, he just said he done it. I asked Mike, and
So we didn't have a big session with him?
I asked Mike, and he's going to say no.
Oh, good.
well, what is that? Oh,
He had another meeting or something, said he had.
Wes did?
20 and 5.
Mike, we didn't need Wes real quick for exec session,
On,
personnel matter? No? Or do you think I'll?
on his what? Or what is there, anything, what?
Salary?
Oh. I don't think so, I mean,
Okay.
he knows it's a matter of whether we do that budget change to accommodate. I mean, I think we gotta have some discussion on that, because,
Well, he just told us he had room in his budget to accommodate that, so.
for this year,
For 15.
yeah.
That's what he told us. He said in 15 he does. That's why I wanted to get him. We just got to catch him real quick. That's what he just told us. Hello.
Are you content with thinking Jack's gonna make $150,000 next year?
Me for himself?
No, inmate housing.
Oh.
I mean, it's bad enough approving a budget you know has got errors in it, let alone just so everything will be okay.
That's what Jack.
Well, no, Jack, Jack's not, he said, I just said, well, what do you want us to project? For 2015.
Better project lower than.
Well, that's what I keep saying. That's what I keep saying. And in fact, what he gives us on his estimate, we
Yeah,
can lower that.
you only pick, pardon me?
And then he comes back and says that
On
estimate
that
he
meeting,
gives you.
we're kind of involved. Do you only pick up anything for you guys to, for your
Hey,
personal?
there's another problem. We have this cardboard thing out here, but it's picking up another parking space. Can we put it someplace?
Okay, so fruit, you know, anything, right?
Oh, is that the county's?
That's one Bessenball,
Okay.
that's one Chase, and
All right, I'll just check.
the dirt one at someplace for parking.
No, bye-bye.
So we got the dumpster, or we got that, it's picking up a school, it's picking up, it's picked up a parking space out here now.
What do you think on this budget? I just don't want to sweep something under the rug.
Like I said earlier, man, I'm right on the fence. I think
But,
it needs to be corrected. I think looking the other way is maybe create another problem next year. I don't know what we gotta do to.
you just recover. We did it one year, we did it in 2013, we found we left out something, just go back and we just recover it. I mean, once you have the hearing, you prove it, you've done it. You still got time now to make it. And the county's kicked in more this year. We took what little was our share and left over, and we put some of it towards, property tax relief, but we put more money, more of what we had left over into, joint communications, more than we ever had. That's a fact.
That's,
I mean,
I'm
Jack,
talking about my budget
I'm
now.
100% with you on that. What really bugs me is why you get a county sales tax and you have to share it. I mean, it just don't make sense to me, but it's the way the legislature set the stupid thing up. I don't like it, but it's getting used a little better than it has, this started 10 years ago.
Well, from the way I see it, on personnel, from what I submitted, it was cut. This end of the year this year is gonna be higher than what you're budgeting for this year.
Well, that is for you to manage, because I know the
That's the
John,
way it was
John
submitted.
managed that.
Don't compare me to John, okay?
Let's,
I don't think that's necessary to do, Mike.
Well, okay, but I'm just saying.
And I am managing it, but we just had, an inmate cost us about $15,000 in overtime. So how's that gonna stay within my means, my budget? And when I submitted a budget to have $20,000 overtime figured in it, and it gets cut off the top of whatever else you cut,
Which one was that on? What line item was that on?
my personnel services.
for 15, you're talking about 15 years?
What did you, I can't remember what you put in.
What? What'd you need?
I didn't need anything.
Oh, I thought you were measuring.
I was just listening, sorry.
I submitted for total law enforcement at $977,390, and that's with and then that's with $20,000 overtime. And it's cut to $940,000, and then no overtime. So that wouldn't even cover a situation like we just had. Fully staffed, not have to lay people off. that's the situation I'm in. And to budget for the basic, I mean, bottom line, over in the treasurer's office, yeah, they're not gonna have overtime. They're gonna have issues like we have. We have to put something in the pot for overtime, and that doesn't include, we had $36,000 in overtime last year. Overtime and part-time. I mean, it's just not gonna work. I mean, it's gonna be over on that.
That's one bucket out of your overall budget. How do you typically end up on commodities, contractual?
Well, you know, the contractual stuff is, I mean, I try to line item it as decent as possible. Of course, there's no accurate way of doing it, because the way we have it split up in the system. I mean, half of it's in the jail, half of it's in law enforcement, and it just doesn't work. And then when I submitted it, split up, and it's sent back as one, so it's hard to tell. But the commodities, or the contractuals, I mean, it was cut by $25,000 from what I submitted, and that was partial of the AT&T. I don't know what else was cut out of it, but,
I thought we only cut that, whatever the AT&T fee was, because the county's picking that all up, so.
So it was 15,000 or whatever?
that was $15,000.
Well, I think that's legit, but otherwise, I mean, that line item should be online, wouldn't it?
And it's still 10,000 lower than what I submitted. We've got some other interfaces and things like that we have to pay. I imagine we're gonna have some costs. I don't know what the difference was in it, but,
Well, how much of the, let's be realistic here and stuff, I mean, we can try to work with you, but I mean, how much of the housing fees do you expect to get all of them, or do some of them need to go back into general, because the rest of your budget, a lot of your budget is funded by general fund tax dollars.
well, as far as, also, I'm asking,
You're one of the few departments that has a little bit of the ability to generate some income. I mean, and we appreciate it, don't get me wrong, but we're making use of our facilities, you're making use, I mean, I guess what I gathered from you too is that you're gonna basically have the same amount of jailers regardless of whether you had 5 inmates or 20 inmates.
there's a difference between 5 and 20. There's not much difference between 5 and 20, but there's a big difference between 30 and 70.
Well, that's true. We have that many cells.
We have space for 72 inmates, and we've had up to 90 in here at times. So, I mean, we don't have any extra people on any shift technically. I mean, when we had that deal up there with the inmate up at the nursing home, it was all overtime, because we just can't take away from the jail.
Maybe we need to have some kind of a funding mechanism where, I mean, because it's hard for us to budget, because that for years has always just been funneled right back to the general fund. But if we're gonna go to this approach where if you gotta have a little more staff for that, then maybe that money has to be generated or put to another fund, and you just have to, make your budget fit that. But we need to know right up front when we're putting in this other income. Melanie explained that pretty clearly to me, that's one of the key. It's pretty easy to figure out how much when you put a tax levy on something, you're gonna get probably 96 to 97% of that money by the time you figure some delinquent fees and this and that. Projected income from various fees, and I think Pauline will attest to this, it's pretty hard to project. I mean, you can go back 5 or 6 years and see a little bit of consistency. I mean, that's the dilemma we're in, Jack. I mean.
Well, the dilemma I'm in, though, is that I have my guys working extra hard to bring in a little extra revenue, and then the sheriff's office isn't getting any benefit back from it, any more than what we would if we didn't have them here.
Well, that's not true. I mean, we have done upgrades to vehicles. We had no problem with The 100 megahertz system, we've been able to.
The 800 megahertz system is joint communications. I'm talking about my budget, the sheriff's office budget.
Okay. We've replaced the vehicles.
Okay.
And we've agreed to equipment upgrades. We're willing to take a look to see where we end up here in 14, you know. We've been pretty explicitly clear about that. I mean, it's just going into 2015, that's all we could, that's realistically all we could do on paper. We did cut, you know, and granted, I mean, it's not apples to apples when you compare like a road and bridge cut to, you know, to your department. You're right, they have bigger equipment, stuff like that. You know, we made them take bigger cuts, you know, that they had to do it. I mean, it's not a perfect environment, but I mean, that's just the cards that we're dealt right now.
Well, I mean, we have, you know, we bring in revenue on many things, and process is one of them, and we can't serve process if we don't have vehicles to serve process in.
But you've got, I mean, yeah, you've got some old vehicles, but I mean, all the better ones aren't in use 100% of the time either. I mean, maybe they have to
If
do.
then we're gonna be back in the same boat we're already in. You know, if we don't continue with this rotation process that we've been
I
discussing for
understand,
the past year.
but if you've got 13 vehicles, and the van, let's just don't even count that, so you've got 12 vehicles, okay? If we get you on, and we've got you 6 new ones, and you've been in not quite 2 years, so we're already ahead. You might say. I mean, that's three,
Well, I think
that's
we're
3
still
per
behind.
year. Well, yes, but sometimes you can't, I mean,
Well, and I think
we understand because, you know, when I first came on, and Matt took a tour of River Bridge. And I couldn't believe how poor the equipment that they really had and how they was getting the job done. I'm not gonna argue that, you know, the cars and stuff that were bought, they were used and stuff, and maybe they weren't put into rotation. A lot of that had to do, you know, and I don't want to demean them because I know we're gonna make some bad decisions that past commissioners just didn't upgrade them. And now we're dealt with trying to get you caught up as fast as we could, but how fast is fast enough?
And if we have, I'm allocated $40,000 for capital improvements. So if I buy a vehicle and I outfit it, it uses almost that, in our garage door down here, fails or it needs to be replaced, then what do I do? Then I have no capital improvements left.
But if we put a lot in there, you don't have a tendency to do, I mean, you know, that's part of the reason we got the county, you know, general, I mean, but that's what we're trying to work on too, is we'd like to get that built up to where that's just kind of reserved, so when a crisis thing comes up, that we could go dip $20,000-$30,000 out of that. But when I go back, I mean, Pauline, didn't you tell me in 2004, we had $1.2 million, and we're down to $500,000. And when I came on, we had about 700, and most of that's happened here, and a lot of that's been reduced because we've had to accelerate, you know. And I understand when you get a vehicle, you get a deer, you gotta take care of it. I mean, I'm not arguing with that one bit. I have no problem with that. But,
you know, we've also brought, $308,000.
how much?
$308,000 is what we brought in since April of 2013 on federal monies. 70% of that is 65%, 70% is revenue.
Net revenue. That's good to hear. We appreciate that. That's good.
Yes, well.
And it
that's
definitely
why-
offsets the cost of a couple of
I have no
vehicles.
problem having this conversation. That's why we need to figure in our budget though. And that's why, you know, I think we need to have that discussion here right now. If we decide to republish it, we're gonna make some modifications here and stuff, but,
Well, right now, we're at 1 inmate, so probably ought to.
well, see, I took it from your budget proposal, and we were plugging numbers in. But the $162,000 was used, it said project, and it didn't say for what year. And I guess we just assumed that was for 2015. So So we used $150,000. I mean,
So you don't think you would take that in inmates next year, or?
I don't really know.
I know that's a cycle.
The federal government has cracked down on making arrests, as far as, even the state has too. I mean, they're not arresting these dopers coming out of Colorado, bringing in much marijuana. They're kicking them loose. So, federal government's not taking those cases like they used to. So,
well, yeah, I mean, the last 3 weeks, I've having about 3 or 4 hours of sleep at night, because I keep going over this budget and just seeing where can we cut. I mean, I don't wanna raise the, I know, I thought back in 13 when I first came on, when we had to take the ambulance over. I mean, that was a sticker shock. And we probably should have raised the levy a little bit then, and really where we got slated at right now is probably where we should have been in 2013. I mean, it wouldn't have been very popular, you know, and stuff, but I mean, it's just a reality. But, some of these other funds were available, and they got transferred in there, and just to keep that levy down, and then last year, you know, you got about a little 10% increase in your budget last year, and I think Road and Bridge maybe got about the same thing, but we didn't realize that there's some highway money that was figured in that fund, so we actually got a little false hope of how much money we had some money spent last year, but now this year there ain't that money, so that's why, and that's basically why Road and Bridge got cut pretty heavy. I mean, we've cut 4 people at Road and Bridge since I've been on.
It's 4 or 5, something like that.
And Matt's still chugging along.
it's kind of apples and oranges in I mean, from his department to ours. But
Well, yes and no, but.
you gotta have somebody out there.
Huh?
You gotta have somebody out there, and you gotta be able to protect this community safely, unlike it's been in the past, so. And when you're only working with half the vehicles, you know, your budget's not gonna be as high. I mean, you don't have the gas, you don't have the fuel going to the vehicles, you don't have the maintenance on them.
I
Don't have
won't argue with
pay.
that. I mean, I would agree with you if we could ever got, and that's our goal, but really, in some of the river bridge, some of the real big equipment is to get on a 5-year buyback plan, and it was, your maintenance is essentially nil, other than tires, and you got fuel, and that's it. And when you guarantee about a 70 to 75% buyback, I mean, that's pretty good. And same way, if you get on 5 or 6 year rotation for vehicles, particularly some of the pickups, you're gonna get at least 50, probably you get close to 50% of your money back. Well, then until you get to that point, your initial costs are dang high.
Yeah, but your revenues from selling those vehicles back should go back into that same pool.
Well, exactly.
I mean, if you wanna look at it that way.
No, and I look at it that way. I'm just saying that instead of buying 90% of a vehicle, so you get everything in a 5-year cycle, then you get back to 50, you only have to pay 50% of it. Then it's kind of a little more workable situation. Getting there, it's the same way with Matt and these graders. I mean, they're $240,000. We even cut one grader out, and they used to have 5 graders, 5 patrols, we cut back to 4.
Yeah,
And so,
What's your
but,
expense?
60/41.
60/41?
Yeah, she's gonna inquire about like pulling up
Okay, just a minute, yeah.
do you know what?
fuel and lead. She called me last minute.
Who's that?
I have to run. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Did it come over?
Hello?
Okay, just a minute, let me try it again. Just a minute, Gail. 60/41?
Yeah.
Oh, are you still there, Gail? Okay.
Gail? Gail? What? I hit the button. Gail?
Yes,
Hey, hello.
yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
We was wanting to know on that gasoline, what we were supposed to do, which one we were supposed to order from, and how much.
And you said it was, you said the minimum's like 200 gallons?
Our tank holds 290, and the lease they'll deliver is either 150 or 200.
You know what you're gonna ask me on that?
And, benzene was 309, and Jackson Farmers was 312.
I'm gonna ask her about the motor.
Okay.
Consumer oil, which would be out of Ashland, I said, benzene, but it's the same.
How are you setting budget-wise for the end of the year?
I have no idea, I haven't been able to get a copy of our budget.
Pauline, what are they showing in on County Lake as far as their budget?
But if we don't get gas now, we won't be able to do any mowing or anything.
We're getting to the point of the year where it's probably gonna start dying off anyways, I would think. How much fuel do you currently have?
How much we got left to do that? He said maybe 25 gallons. Just guessing. Because our gauge is messed up.
Okay,
Just a minute.
we're looking, hold on.
Oh, well, here, I got this.
We hit the big ones. What's the show for County Lake?
I can't remember the number.
Commodities. Times 3. 464. About 464, they're about 74% of their budget, commodities. We got at least 150 gallons, it'd be about $464.
You know, do they need, what about the other thing, like for propane and stuff, that are using propane?
Well, yeah, I'm just talking about gas. Where are you sitting at propane for the winter?
Right now, it's just a little below 30%.
Propane's a bit high this year, all over.
Yeah, we should have said that one, that's not fair.
Have you priced propane?
No, not yet.
Yeah,
We're
you-
always supposed to do that like it's 20%.
You better be getting some prices now, because I don't think it's gonna go any lower.
A lot of farmers are gonna be using propane to dry down grain, and it's gonna get high.
Okay, I'll call tomorrow and get some propane prices.
And you said minimum was 150 gallons?
200 for propane.
No, gas.
On gas,
For
man.
gasoline, it's either 150 or 200.
About 400.
I mean, that wasn't in there.
No, we're showing 65.97. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 2,356. 2056.
Hmm?
1900, that put them down to, they got 200 gallons of gas. She figured 460 something.
465.
465, like 200 gallons. How much propane do you normally use, Gail, do you know?
We'll get a tank this fall, and then we'll usually get one, in January or February? Either January or February, it just depends on how cold it gets.
Yeah, that's true. 1,000 gallons or something, you're close. You're very close.
Maybe having slipper and employees too.
January, you'll have, March, we'll have to have one usually in October or November, and it should last till January or February. Yeah, get one either October, November, which it'll have to be October on this one probably,
This money
and it'll last at least till January
put over.
or February, depending on how cold it gets.
And what all do you use the gas for? Is it just gonna be strictly mowing, or are you gonna be using that for something else?
For the light trucks go around and see people, do tree trimming and stuff like that.
Yeah. Find out what that minimum is, and I think the 309 price, that consumers or whatever is probably the better deal.
Sometimes those minimum, you know,
Yeah.
okay.
This to me,
And less farmers has it.
Here's the revenue, here's the expense.
Yeah, I don't know, does Jackson Farmers have like less than, for their minimum, is it less than what consumers
They're
have?
all about the same.
Okay. Okay.
I'll check and see which one's the least, but
Okay.
we're gonna want, with the one that has the least, the one here,
Okay.
that's pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is what's.
All right.
Is that all you needed?
This is total revenue.
Yep,
Okay, thanks, Gail.
that's what this is.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
And
Bye.
that should have, this money's already been scheduled to be transferred at the end of the year. But it's considered extra money, and this is money that's figured in the budget, so I mean, this amount. And this amount,
Well,
here's where $97,000 of your money is. These amounts are new money for this year.
except for delinquent.
For the jingle.
I know. This is the long part.
Yeah, but see, this, I wondered why, back at, he was showing how these at,
So I don't know who's putting it, I don't know who's putting it in the old account, if they should be in.
the revenue comes through the treasurer's office.
It was a private level.
Let's put the revenue in, so I
They're
don't,
supposed to do that too.
you know what I'm saying?
About 57%.
The sheriff's office has to put it in the old account.
You'll find out.
No, I was looking at, noted that there are courthouse charges. It was a courthouse charge, then courthouse charge, about 56%. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay,
So we're waiting for numbers on Melanie, I mean,
I'm gonna ask her about if we can move.
Well, I'll tell you what it appears, Jeff, is some of this, it looks to me like there's about $90,000 that's come into these accounts that we were gonna transfer anyway. Should actually been normal revenue. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The only thing that should be coming into those accounts is delinquent taxes, and instead of 30-some thousand coming in there, you're up to $500 or $600.
wait, repeat that?
Well, like Road and Bridge, there's 31,000 in it.
There, somebody deposited it in the old account.
$7,000 is delinquency.
In general.
But that's delinquent taxes though that are going into that, right?
But-
And
The
motor
The
vehicle?
motor vehicle's going in it too, so that's, I'm gonna ask Kelly if we can do it, we can do that over there. What he's saying is, it was, that goes, all that figures was figured in this, when you do, I mentioned your budget at the end of the year, which maybe we won't.
Is that motor vehicle taxes from generated from 14 or 13 though?
Well, it's what was on the 2014 budget.
Okay.
That needs to get corrected so we know exactly where we're at.
So is Melanie going to verify that?
She's gonna check with Melanie and stuff.
I'm gonna ask her if we can do a journal entry as a clerk, since it was already budgeted in the general fund. I'll find out what she says.
What's gonna do is gonna show these fund balances aren't gonna have anything transferred.
Well, you'll have-
Let's verify, no, I don't think that would be correct, because you still got delinquent taxes coming in from prior years into there.
But delinquent taxes aren't very high percentage.
Because Melanie that's what, when she went through and looked at that, that's where the amounts to transfer in, that's what she did to verify those.
Yeah, but she may not know that this is new revenue.
Hello? Oh, okay. No, I gotta get going here pretty shortly too, so you're okay. If we need something, we'll get ahold of you.
Well, I'll,
Okay, thank you.
I will call her,
Bye.
I'll print these out.
Okay.
Law enforcement employee benefits. I'll talk to Pat.
Just all of it, make sure that only delinquent taxes go into those old account numbers, and that everything else goes into the new
Okay,
account.
well, Janine will be here next week, so, because see, I was never trained on this part,
Mhm.
because, you know, he shipped it all over to Chris, so
Mhm.
I gotta find out how we can go in and change the account numbers, so that when they do the distribution, it goes into the general fund. So, I mean, it should be easy to do.
Mhm.
I can do it on the old system.
Yeah.
Well, she keeps saying that but it just put us, it put us another $9,000 bond.
Well, let's verify
Well, see-
that. I mean, we need to.
Because there's gonna be more put in it with this other motor vehicle distribution.
Yeah, but again, she does that, that needs to be corrected right now.
I wonder if she was coming in, thinking it was for revenue, because she wasn't aware of that new law back in July where the sheriff was $9 to $25 to $40,000.
Well, I think they got that correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I
Oh,
wonder
that
if she
dead
has,
money?
I wonder if she has that revenue put into her budget. That was $25,000 to $40,000. Now that goes into a separate account with Jack because of that. Might be it's a bill.
Oh, you're talking about the VIN. You're talking
So
about
this
the
money, as of July,
July 1.
is going to, it's going to a separate account. Or it should be. I can check that out. I thought there was a separate account.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Okay, we'll verify with Melanie.
Okay, I will do that tomorrow.
I want to verify with her, because she went through that and she
I
didn't.
understand it, but all I'm after is, Jeff, there is no way that I know for, unless somebody takes me off reserve and stuff, that I'll probably be here next year. And I don't want to go into the budget knowing that there's some errors in here and then having because I know by the end of this year, we're gonna be desperate. I think we're gonna be really desperate.
It's definitely need to go and tie. I know it's definitely tight going into 14. I know that.
Well, 15 budget, I think, is even tighter. I mean, less room for
Do
error.
you want me to say something to Pat on the sales tax for the city, or shall I ask Sheila first and then get with Pat?
I would find out from Sheila and see what she got, if she
I mean,
just
I
got
don't know if
distributed.
We got all the money from the city, so it's like.
That's
No,
what he's asking.
they got one more payment, that's all it is and stuff. So
I mean-
it may be that they
What were they dispersed that last year, do you remember?
I just want you to know that I'm available. We do this
find
thing
it.
right, and if I come back on Tuesday, we have a budget hearing, I will not vote for this budget. Knowing what we just heard, there's just no way we can.
I got a feeling that's gonna be pretty much there, at 150. So what do you think? Half a day? Raise? Or what we?
Depends on what you go back to and do, there's a few more things that you can modify and cut.
Mhm.
But they're not that big, they're small items, I mean, you know, we know that we really need to take care of, you know, Wes's correction at 20,000 is a tenth, a little bit tenth of that is the deal. But, you know, you deal with the sirens and.
These roads, you know, you only got 10 miles worth of road. Out of
Yeah,
40.
we've already cut Matt to the point I'm very, very uncomfortable.
I'm just saying, that's several minutes.
We already cut, I think that he's gonna have to maybe cut 8 or 10 miles anyway.
10 miles, okay.
Two seven.
Thing is, I'll find out, I don't know. Because I thought did they give it to us earlier than? I'll have to look, I'll email you tomorrow when we got it.
Okay.
This is,
I mean, it just appears very confident we're gonna have our budget overrun on sheriffs. And I know the report department and stuff is gonna have to a decent surplus.
In general.
Ambulance will be good. Solid waste. That's all the waste, there's just
Sorry.
department.
I thought it was gonna be good.
They're,
Well, they are.
but they're their own fund.
Yeah, he's
The
on general.
appraiser looks pretty good.
He's talking about general.
And I'm pretty sure that if Matt really comes back, he could have quite a bit, but I hate to strip him of all his savings, knowing what he's going to do next year with a $500,000 less budget. So, I mean, it boils down to, it's probably gonna have to make a few modifications, and now might have to go with another, I don't want to go up to 3, but,
they gave it to us August 7th.
you know.
They gave it to us August 7th? Okay.
She hasn't moved it over.
But she hasn't done anything with it, she's still.
Well, I mean, last year, they gave.
Oh, last year they gave us August 7th.
Yeah. No, we don't have it, because I think they gave us a check, so. Check she usually gets received in Wednesday.
Okay. So we probably haven't received that, that's that one.
Well, what do you think about between now and Tuesday, when we want to meet and make any modifications? I mean, I want to, and if you don't want to, that's fine. I mean, it's your call.
I would just wanna see some, you know, hopefully she gets a hold of Melanie, I just wanna,
That's just gonna tell you whether you're gonna be behind or close the wars behind in 2010. I wanna get this behind us, good, bad, or indifferent. And, you know, we have worked diligently, guys, I know that, we've all worked diligently on it, but we I think we need to try to do it right. It's gonna be a little ugly, but it's, some of the things we took on, like, you gotta stick, you know, the things, payment thing, you gotta stick with them, you know, and stuff. because you end up, at the end of the year, you gotta take a lot of the county general, and that's depleted, and, you sure don't have budget here, knowing that you may have to rob some more out of it next year. Sure call. Now, what do you want to do? You want to make some modifications?
I hate to, but we gotta get corrected. And I got a feeling that we're in 150,000 in 15 when we were short. I got a feeling if Jack doesn't get what he wants, he's gonna say, no, thank you, that doesn't, unless that's something mandatory he has to take out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we give him some money to give the jail or the raise, now they're not gonna be watching anybody. This thing is going around 360 degrees, heartbeat.
It's a mill right there. Mill crews. So we look at 3.3
Was that
right there.
that,
Correct. I couldn't do that, I'd have to cut it.
cut one?
Road and bridge, we're gonna have to cut road miles out. It's the only serious thing that,
I won't cut the miles out of the road to get an insurance card.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, I didn't say that.
No, I think where we're at really is what we're at in the county.
Good question.
Well, I mean, I think that's what it really boils down to.
Let's do on, okay, let's do on, hopefully. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, at the latest, we'd have to meet early for, you have to give notice, and you'd have to have a special meeting for, if you want to get it in Saturday's paper.
I wanna be out of town, we leave like tomorrow afternoon for a wedding.
You need to redo your budget? Don't you have to have your hearing for the one you have, and then at that time state that,
You vote it down.
you vote it down, and that's one that you'll have to republish, or you have to, I think you gotta do your full
All
budget.
right, because we set notice of hearing.
I think that's what we had to do the time we published it again, we had, I think you had to vote it down and redo the budget and then republish.
Okay.
That's okay, I still got a township, and I haven't got in yet.
Really? Who's that?
Mount Pleasant, I'm still waiting on their annual report.
Well, it'll give us all the time to think and really look over this, guys. I mean, we couldn't have come in this thing this time.
Yep.
I mean, you know, in all honesty, we give Jack, I mean, last year he had it well over two, you know, and we basically took away from that what we thought we had to give him last year. And we did, I mean, you know, but it's, with these overestimates coming in and whatever it's gonna be, it'll be very interesting coming to the end of the year.
Did you have a rough guesstimation of what your cuts amount to? 100? For the 100?
What little I did, it would cost you about less than 2/10 of a mil, but that's still giving you 70,000. And that's about a half a mil right there. Do you want to vote on this?
Huh?
Do you want to vote on this, Willie?
I have to pick up a kid, I mean,
we'll just, I mean, come Tuesday, we have a hearing, we can have a discussion, I won't vote for it until we make some modifications. What we do, I don't know, but, we'll have to always work on it, get some ideas and have a good discussion. Unless it passes, then it's, two vote for it, so. Right?
I think you're just gonna have to have some hearing and discuss it, and if you don't like it, then have to vote it down and do it.
It's a catch-22 that we've been put in. If we had written agreement, I have no problem with that money. But it never has been singled out for sheriff, has it?
What?
Housing of inmates, it all comes in under
Yeah, it
general.
all came in under general, but I don't know why. I don't know who's putting it in to the law enforcement account, because that one should be a closed account for any revenue, other than delinquency.
Right. Do we need to pass a resolution? Ask Melanie whether we need to close that to only delinquent tax revenue.
You guys want to
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
adjourn the meeting. We will,
I've got, my son's waiting for me too.
all right, well, we'll adjourn.
I'd second that.
We'll second that motion, we have a second.
Second, okay, I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying
Aye.